It's a lot of fun to chat with all of you in the chat. Let me just check something here for a moment. I'm going to change the white balance on my camera just so it's a little better on the color side. Anyways, hello to all of you who are watching. I just want to say it is Saturday morning here in Canada. I have been looking forward to doing this live stream all morning. I got up earlier than normal today, and I just like doing this live stream, so it's really fun. Just going to check my audio. White balance on my camera. Just so looks like everything is working excellent. So once again, here is how this will work. In the chat, please use the chat to have conversations in English with each other. I do say hello to everyone out there, so it is nice to see all of you. But let's not ask questions in the chat. Please use the form that will be linked by Todd or Dave or the Nightbot who takes care of the chat. And today's topic is basically open questions. If you have questions about the English language, please ask them. If they are questions that I can answer in about a minute, I will take the time to answer it. But sometimes the questions are too complex, even for me, and I'm not able to. So anyways, thank you so much for being here and for watching. I just wanted to mention from the beginning, we will do about an hour. And for the last 10 or 15 minutes, I will switch the chat to members only. So if you have joined the channel by clicking the join button, we will have a members only chat later, and then I'll flip it back to chat for everybody later on as well. So, but let's start the way we normally do. Let me go and find the first question here. There are lots of questions. Let's see here. I'm going to edit this question just a little bit, Valerie, because I like to keep some information a little more private. So give me a sec here. Let's see here. Here we go. So Valerie from Ukraine says, hello, Bob, and greeting to you and Jen's farm. Tell me, what is the difference between I am being on time and I am making it for the bus in time, and between each and any? So I'll do the first one. When you are on time, it usually means that you had some time to prepare and you got to where you needed to go, usually a little bit early or right on time. So you were not late. When we use the phrase in time, it usually means that there was a possibility you were going to be late, but you weren't, okay? So you would say, oh, I caught the bus just in time. Or I was just in time to buy the last milk at the store. So it means that there was a possibility of being late, but you weren't. So if you're on time, you're on time. But when you're in time, it means you did get there on time, but you could have been late, so you are just in time. Hopefully that made sense. And then the second part of your question was the difference between each and any. Each day I get up at usually 6:45. That's how I would use the word each. The word any I would use a little bit differently. I would say, are there any days where you sleep in? So notice the little difference here. That was a bad explanation. Sorry about that. But hopefully that helps you just a little bit. Next question is from Deekshach. I like this question. Do you prefer creamy peanut butter or crunchy peanut butter? So I do like peanut butter. I don't have a peanut allergy. Many people in the world can't have peanuts. So I do like peanut butter, and I prefer smooth peanut butter. So there's smooth peanut butter, creamy peanut butter. They are the same thing. But usually I like smooth peanut butter, and I usually like peanut butter and jam on toast. So I put both on my toast, Deekshach, at the same time. Let's see here. Next question. Sorry to pause there. Sometimes the question is a little hard to read. Vitaly Smirnov says, hello, Bob. Canadets. Thank you. How have you been there? What's your opinion on whether everyone need to wear a mask or not? Thank you. So what I have heard is that because we don't know all the time whether we have COVID, it can be a good idea to wear a mask just in case you do, because some people have COVID but they don't have any symptoms, they don't feel sick, and if you wear a mask it helps stop when you cough for things to spread in the air. So I think everything that we can do in order to just kind of stop this. Whether we know it works perfectly or not, I think is a good idea. So stay home, stay safe. If you do go out, wear a mask and gloves. Don't go out unless you need to. I think all of those things are helpful. So one of you asked if I would just give you an update about how things are going here in Canada. Where I live, the government has said that you should only go out once a week. And you should only go out to get essentials and groceries. The number of cases in Canada is starting to rise, and they think that things will hopefully flatten out in about a week or two, but we don't know yet. So we're being urged to stay home. We're being urged to only go out for groceries or medicine. And that's really it. Here's the next question. Chico says, "Hi teacher, what is the difference between I prepare something and I get something prepared? Thank you." So if I prepare breakfast or if I get breakfast prepared, they mean the same thing. Okay, so if I prepare breakfast for my family, or if I make breakfast for my family, it means the same thing as saying that I'm going to get breakfast prepared. It means exactly the same thing. They are just two different ways to say the same thing, basically. That's a tricky one though, right? Like if I prepare breakfast or I get breakfast prepared. Yes, they do, for the most part, mean the same thing. Syed Akil Shah says Pakistan says, "Hi Bob, rip off and gouge. Difference. Learning English is mother's milk to me. Thanks." So when you rip someone off, it means that you sell them something and charge them way too much, and maybe they don't even know it. When you gouge, it means you charge way too much for something as well. Okay, so they mean somewhat similar things. Usually when someone rips you off, you don't realize it. And when someone is gouging, you usually realize they have put the price way too high, but you pay it anyways. Let's see here. Next one is from Daniel from Czech. I got a thumbs up from Zoomred Alex. Thank you very much for the thumbs up there for the sticker. Daniel from the Czech says, "Hello Bob, could you please clear up a difference between as long as and if? Can I use them in conditionals interchangeably? Thanks, your Dan." So Dan, when you use, as long as, here's the example sentence for as long as. As long as I'm at the store, I might as well get bananas. As long as, I should make a video on all of the as long as much as. Maybe I should do a video on that because it is a little tricky actually. But as long as I'm at the store, I might as well get some bananas. So basically, because I'm at the store anyways, I can get some bananas. But in my mind, I'm just realizing there's a different way. You can say that I have been drinking tea for as long as I can remember. So it has a lot of different meanings. So I'm going to kind of shift gears on that one. I don't know if I can explain it well right now. But the as long as phrases and the as much as, and I should do a video on those. So I'm going to make a note of that, and hopefully I can fit that into my schedule to help all of you. Let's see here. Ario says, let me get that pasted in there, everybody. Ario says, "Hi, Mr. Bob. I'm interested in Japanese culture. Learning another culture is so fun." Notice I made some corrections there, okay? "Do you like the culture in France?" So for me, because I like speaking French and I always dream of a day when I can improve it, there are two places where I would love to visit. One is France and one is the province of Quebec. I have been to the province of Quebec many times. Quebec is the province in Canada where many people speak French, and obviously France is a whole country where people speak French. I've been to Quebec. I'd love to go to France a number of times. Let's go to the next question. But Japan, that would be interesting too. Let's see here. So Bilal says, "Sir, would you explain these words, relation versus relationship, and then cynical and theme park?" So when there is a relation between something, it means there's something in common, okay? When you have a relationship with someone, it means that you are usually dating them, or you are interested in them romantically. So But I guess you can use those words in other ways too, right? Like, what's the relationship between milk consumption and cheese consumption? So you can use that to talk about how those two things are related to each other. So that's a tricky one. It really is. I'm not doing so good with some of the questions this morning, but I can tell you that when you are cynical, it means that you doubt what people tell you initially. And a theme park is a place where you go to go on rides. In fact, if you do a search for Bob the Canadian Amusement Park, if you search for that, Bob the Canadian, I'm putting it in the chat, amusement park. So a theme park and amusement park are very similar. There is a video I made a while ago where I go to an amusement park or a theme park. You should look at that. That will give you a sense. Let's see here. Next question is from Alina. Alina says, hi, dear teacher Bob. What phrases do you usually use to support someone's idea? Are there any except great idea? You could say, I like that idea. That's a great idea. I totally agree with you. Great thought. You could say, I'm totally with you on that, or just saying, I agree with you. Yeah, all of those would work. I'm trying to think whether I made a video on that, but I might have and I can't remember. I've made too many videos now. I can't remember all of them, but certainly if you agree with someone's idea or you think that they have a great idea, you just agree with them or state that it's a great idea. Like, that's a good idea, or that's a great idea. That's an awesome idea. You could even just say, perfect, great idea. Alexi has the next question. Alexi says, what do you think about coronavirus? I hope that we get a handle on this quickly. In English, when you get a handle on something, it means that you get it under control. So I really hope that the governments of the world and the scientists can get a handle on the coronavirus soon. I hope we can find a treatment so that if people get the virus, they can be treated in the hospital and recover. And I hope we can come up with a vaccine soon. That's what I think about it. I am getting a little tired of sitting around at home. So let's see here. Next question is from Goog says, morning, teacher Bob. Oh, so we says, good morning, teacher Bob. What is the difference between question and problem? So when you have a question, it simply means that you are wondering about something, like, why is the sky blue? Why is the coronavirus in the world? So those are questions. When you talk about something as a problem, you would say, I have a problem with my car, it won't run. I have a problem with tea, I drink too much of it. So a problem is a little bit different than a question for sure. So Gonzalo Hueso in the chat says, are you living near New York State border? Yes, I live about 45 minutes from the state of New York, but I do live in Canada. So let's see here. Next question, Mickey says, what's the difference between keep out and keep away? So sometimes people will put up a sign like on a fence and it will say keep out, or it'll say keep away. And basically what they're saying is they do not want you to come onto their property. Okay, so sometimes out in the country, like where I live, people don't want people to come onto their property. So they will have a sign that says keep out, or they'll have a sign that says keep away. The more common sign is to have a sign that says keep out. Like on a fence. Lily has the next question. This is a phrase that we do hear in English a lot. Lily, greetings from Vietnam. Hello, Lily. What does the sentence, I am out of the loop mean? So if two people at work are talking about something that is going to happen, and you don't know about it, you don't know anything about it, no one has told you about it, we would say that you are out of the loop. We would say those two people are in the know, so they know. Let's imagine, I always talk about, let's imagine there's a surprise party coming up, and these two people at work, sorry, I'm pointing over here. Two people at work are talking about it and they are in the know. They know there's going to be a surprise party, but you are out of the loop. That means you don't know what they're talking about and you don't know what's happening. So you have not been given the same information as them. Let me clean up my questions here. And let me move on to the next one. Let's see here. Benio, I'm not sure how to answer this one, Benio. I am going to pause for a second, say, can we keep the chat English, please? And can we keep the chat in English? Can we use it for a place for you to practice your English? And if you do have questions, please use the form. We must be I would say about 15 minutes into the lesson. That's when the amount of viewers goes up, and we usually end up with a lot of questions in the chat. So please don't ask questions in the chat. Dave and Todd are pretty busy keeping track of that. But let me get back to the next question. Benito says, hi teacher, what does ingenious mean, as in ingenious culture and its common meanings? So first of all, ingenious means that it's a good idea. Ingenious means that, oh, that's just ingenious. It means that you were really thinking well. But I think you might be thinking of the word indigenous. So indigenous usually refers to the people who inhabited a place before it was settled or colonized, okay? So look up the word indigenous people, and that might be more what you are looking to get an answer on. So let's see here. Madi has the next question. Let's see here. Madi says, hi Bob, hopefully you are being safe. Question is, what do you think if I watch English movies with English subtitles? So here's what Bob the Canadian thinks about subtitles. If you need English subtitles, you should turn them on, okay? And you should watch the movie with the English subtitles on, but you should also watch the movie again at a later date with the subtitles off. I think subtitles are great. I think they are very, very helpful. When I practice my French, sometimes I turn the subtitles on, but I would highly recommend that you do re-watch the lesson or the video or the movie later with the subtitles off. So definitely use them if you need them, but if you can get away without them, then turn them off once you can. Let's see. Alex says, hi Bob. Hi Bob, could you tell please how many meanings does the word facility have? What are the most usable? So the most usable and the most common definition of facility is basically a place, okay? So like a lot of times, let me think about this, facility, like what kind of place would have a facility? I might have to look that up. I'm gonna look for example of word facility, because I want to say facilities, which is the plural. So the facilities are at the end of the corridor, have a great facility for writing. He had great facility with words. Yeah, it does have a couple different meanings, but they're not as common as you might think. For me, I only use the word facility or facilities. You can use it to refer to the washroom, like where are the facilities? But it's not a common word, and I would definitely, I'm failing at defining it, so I would definitely look up a meaning online for that. For sure. Sorry to bail on some of these questions today. I'm not as good at answering questions as I usually am, or maybe the questions are harder today. One of the two. Nathan GR, hello Teacher Bob. I have a question about the meaning of the word representation and delegation. Thank you. So when you have representation somewhere, it means that you are allowed to have someone there to represent your country. The simplest thing I can think of is the United Nations. Canada has a representative who goes to the United Nations, and we have representation there. So that means Canada is part of it. Your second word is delegation. A delegation is when a group of people go from one country to another country. So sometimes Canada will send a trade delegation to another country. We recently, I think last year, sent a trade delegation to China. So I think it was India actually. Yes, we definitely went to India. Because I remember seeing Prime Minister Trudeau on the news and he was visiting India. So yes, we definitely send trade delegations to other countries. Thanks, Dave. I was actually thinking we should figure out how to say English only in the chat in a couple of different languages. So once again, please only use English in the chat. If you cannot stop speaking in other languages, eventually you get a timeout. So please use English. If anyone recognizes the languages that are being spoken in the chat, and you're a regular here, please let people know that English is the best, and sorry, English isn't the best language, but English is the language I prefer to see people using in the chat. It sounded like I was saying English is the best language, which I don't think is true. But please try to use English in the chat. It just helps everyone who is here. Many people listen to me, but they also like to read the chat. So English is best for all of us as we continue to learn English. So Zarni says, hello, Bob, how are you? How many ways are there to use the word toast? So toast is when you take bread and you put it in a machine or an appliance called a toaster, and it makes it brown on each side, and then you put butter or jam on it. So that's toast. That's what toast is. But we also sometimes say to someone, oh, that guy's toast. Like if you were driving your motorcycle and you went in the ditch and you went flying off your motorcycle, we would say, oh, that guy, he got toasted, or that guy was toast, which means he got hurt really bad. So when you say someone is toast, maybe in a video game, you could say, you know, I was running in my video game, and when I ran around the corner, someone in the video game shot at me, and then I was toast. Okay, so it would mean that you died in the video game. So so people are saying it's Russian in the chat. So if any of my regulars speak Russian, could you ask the Russians to start speaking English? That would be great. And Dave and Todd have already started kind of cleaning up a bit. That's okay though. I mean, it's a live chat. There's people from all over the world. We don't want to be mean to anyone because this is, for me, just a fun time where people from all over the world get together, not just to learn English, but to actually have some conversations. So here we go. Oh, this is a good one. So Sarn says, hi, Bob. This is Sarn from Taiwan. Do you use simpler words on purpose to make the audiences easier to understand, or is this just the normal way you speak on stream? So I think I'm not sure I use simpler words. I know I speak more slowly, and I know I pronounce things more clearly. But when I'm trying to answer the questions, it's very hard for me to always use simpler words. So it's not something that I am thinking about when I'm doing this. I am thinking about that I should speak a little bit slower, and I am thinking about that I should speak clearly. My goal isn't to talk at my normal speed so that everyone can practice listening my normal speed. My goal is to clearly and concisely answer questions about the English language. So I don't use simpler words. I actually have no control in my brain over what words I use. I just do what I need to do. So let me go to the next question. Pedro has the next question. Do you have book recommendations? So the other day, some of you who have been here for a while will know that I always recommend that you read The Martian by Andy Weir. It's a science fiction book about an astronaut that gets stuck on Mars. I actually just rewatched the movie the other day because it's one of my favorite movies. So I just know that that book is great. It does have some swearing in it, but it is a good book. I love that book. It's, I think, a good book to read because he talks in the first person. Let's see here. Let me go to the next question. Let's see. Nawal, hello, Teacher Bob. How are you doing? I would like to know the meaning of these words: invoke, predicament, intercede, and bottleneck. So when you invoke something, it means that you declare that it's happening. So in where I live, they invoked what they call sorry, I'm drawing a blank on this. Oh, they invoked a state of emergency. That means the government announced that we are in a state of emergency. When you invoke something, you declare that it is happening. A predicament is simply the same thing as a problem. You know, if I was driving along and the tire on my car went flat, I would be in a predicament. So I would be in a situation where I have a problem. Sorry, I said predicament is the same as problem. It's not exactly the same. When you have a problem, you would say that you are in a predicament. So a predicament is a situation where you are having a problem or more than one problem. Intercede is when if two people are fighting and you as a third person stop them from fighting, we would say that you intercede. Okay, so you can intercede and stop people from fighting or arguing. And a bottleneck is when too many people try to do the same thing at the same time. So picture when the Apple Store releases a new phone and there is 1,000 people waiting to get in the store. When they open the store and all the people try to go in at once, there would be a bottleneck, okay? So too many people trying to get through and opening at once would cause a bottleneck. There you go. I think I got that. We'll go to the next one. Let me find it here and get it posted. Ruslan says, Ruslan from Russia. Hello, Teacher Bob. How are you? Could you explain the difference between the words, a little correction there, efficient and effective? How should I use each of them? I wish you good health. So first of all, when something's efficient, like if a car is efficient, it uses less fuel than other cars. If the heater in your home is efficient, it means it uses less fuel or electricity to produce heat. So when something is efficient, it just means that it runs well. If a person is efficient, they get a lot done in the same amount of time, or they get more done in the same amount of time than someone else would, okay? When you are effective though, it means that what you are doing is working well, okay? So let's just say I'm effective as an English teacher. That means that I am actually good at teaching English. If you say that someone is an effective police officer, it would mean that they are really good at doing their job as a police officer, okay? So efficient means that you are able to do things well in a short period of time, or if you're talking about a car, it uses less fuel for the same number of kilometers. When you are effective, it means you are good at getting the job done. Saeed has the next question. What does it mean to say here goes nothing? So the phrase is here goes nothing. When you say here goes nothing, you simply mean that it's like a phrase you say before you try something. So let's say, have you ever been on a water slide at an amusement park? If you were at the top and you've never been down a water slide before, you could turn to your friends and say, well, here goes nothing, which basically means that you're gonna try something, okay? So when you say here goes nothing, it's just like a little expression you say, mostly when you are trying something new. Let's see here, next question is from Yanis. And Yanis says, hey, Mr. Bob. Hey, Mr. Bob, I'm Yanis from Algeria. Hi, Yanis. I want to ask, how can I improve my speaking skills? So I usually mention this every week, that one of the best ways to improve your speaking skills is to find an English speaking partner. If you know someone who will talk to you in English via the internet or in your hometown, that is the best thing you can do. If you have money, you can hire someone. There's a link to Preply below. That's a great website to find someone who you can speak English to. But the best way to improve your speaking skills is to find a person to talk to. If you can't do that, just practice speaking out loud a lot. Start talking to yourself. Start describing everything you do out loud in English as you go through your day. So say things like, I made some tea. I'm drinking tea. I like this tea. I'm going to set this cup down. But certainly finding someone who you can actually talk to in English is one of your best strategies to improve your speaking skills. I am going to pause for a second and say hello to all of the new people here. We're at 720 people. The Saturday live lesson seems to be pretty popular. If you are not a subscriber to my channel, if you click the red subscribe button that's somewhere below, it's completely free to subscribe to my channel and you will get notified whenever I put out a new video. So please subscribe if you are not a subscriber. Thank you to all of you who are subscribers. And just kind of a mention here, if you see people's names in green in the chat, it's because they have joined my channel. And if you do want to thank me by joining my channel and giving me a couple dollars a month to help support me, that's awesome. I really do appreciate that. But I think we should continue on with the lesson because the more I talk about myself, the less entertaining I feel like I am. So let's get to the next question. Next question would be Vida, Ukraine. Hi, Vida. Hello, could you explain the difference between variety and diversity and various and varied? Thanks in advance. So these words are very closely related. When you go to the store, they have a variety of cookies that you can buy, okay? There's just all kinds of different cookies. They have a lot of variety, okay? When you talk about diversity though, we usually talk about diversity when we are talking about people. When you have a lot of diversity on, say, the police force, it means that there are people from all different backgrounds, all different ethnic backgrounds, and all different races, okay? So we generally use the word variety to talk about everyday things. We usually use diversity to talk about people, okay? Canada is a very diverse country. There is a lot of diversity. If you go to our larger cities, you will see people who originally moved to Canada from China, from Japan, from France, from South Africa, from Algeria, from Saudi Arabia. There is a lot of diversity in Canada. There are people from every part of the world. So generally variety is for things, diversity is for when you are talking about people. Let's see here. And I forgot the various and varied. So there are various kinds of cookies. That means there's a variety. And when something is varied, it means there's like a whole, let me think of the best way to describe varied. Like if there's varied approaches to something, like there's varied approaches to learning English, it means that there's many different ways that you can learn English. In fact, you could say there's a variety of approaches as well. So those two words might be fairly similar. Let me get the next question. Esther, hi Bob, hi Esther. Greetings from Taiwan. My question is, what is the difference, little correction there Esther, what is the difference between interpreter and translator? My understanding is they would be almost the same thing. I could be wrong, but my understanding is an interpreter is someone who listens to one language and then they say the language out loud of the person who, so let me back up. That's something we say in English, by the way, when we start again. Let me back up. If there is a person who speaks French, and there is a person who speaks French and English, and there is a third person who only speaks English, this person can act as an interpreter. They can listen to the French person, and then they can tell the English-speaking person what the French-speaking person said. We also would call this person a translator, okay? Now, I would look this up because it could be different depending on whether you are speaking or writing, but in informal English, you could use interpreter and translator interchangeably. In my mind, they mean pretty much the same thing. Let's see here. Anna says, hello, Mr. Bob. What is the best way to study English idioms and expressions? And please recommend a good source for studying them besides your videos. Thanks. So yes, you should watch my videos. No, I do think though YouTube is the best place to learn current English phrases and idioms and sayings. So I would search for them on YouTube. You can watch my videos, but I would find someone who is speaking with the English accent that you are learning, because in Australia or New Zealand or the United Kingdom, all of the English-speaking countries have slightly different versions sometimes. So if you are learning English for Canada or the United States, we're almost exactly the same. I would watch Canadian and American English teachers on YouTube. If you are planning to move to Britain, I would watch someone who has a British accent and learn from them. So definitely, I think YouTube is the best place because it's current. If you buy a book about English idioms, if it was published like 20 years ago, the information won't be current anymore. So I would find YouTubers who are teaching using the accent that you want to learn, and then the idioms and sayings will be very similar. Let's see here. Next question is from Muna. What is the meaning of lie-dyed locks? I don't know, but sometimes we refer to hair as locks, and sometimes people dye their hair, so it might have something to do with that. Let's see here. Let me delete. Oh, I just deleted someone's question. Let me go back. Sorry, this is from Surav, who says, what is the difference between meanwhile and meantime? So meanwhile or in the meantime mean the same. So I used a word and I used a phrase. So you could say that Jen was working outside. Meanwhile, I was inside making a video. Jen was working outside. In the meantime, I was inside making a video. So there they mean the same thing. Sorry, I almost skipped that question. Let me get back to my questions and clean things up a bit. By the way, folks, I do have a fairly long list of questions, so I might not get through all of them. Let's see here. Greg the Chinese. So Greg, I don't usually give out that information on YouTube. So Greg, if you are hearing me, Greg is asking for some information that I would consider somewhat private. So Greg, thanks for the question, but I would just gracefully ask that you understand that I'm not going to answer it. Let's see here. Ferris, the Torontonian. So people from Toronto are called Torontonians, and it's really hard for me to say. What does so to speak mean? How to use it in the same meaning as if you will? Thanks in advance. So when we say so to speak, it means that whatever we just talked about, we don't know the perfect answer, but it's almost the perfect answer. So you could say, I'm having trouble thinking of an example here. So let me look it up for a sec. It's a tricky one because it has a kind of a unique use. Let's find an example of it. So delving into someone's past was like looking death in the face, so to speak. Well, that was a little bit more intense than I expected it to be. But delving into someone's past was like looking death in the face, so to speak. So it means whatever you're describing, you're looking at it figuratively instead of literally. Hopefully that made some sense. Anyways, Ferris, hopefully that made some sense for you. Jack says, hi, Bob. How do you think about teaching us about Canadian history? So I did study history in university, but I studied American history because I went to an American university. But I do have a good amount of knowledge of Canadian history. I won't tell you too much, except that Canada is a bilingual country, speaking both French and English, because we were originally settled by two European nations who spoke each of those languages. I'll let you figure out who, and we'll go from there. Next question, Eugene from Etobicoke says, good morning, Bob. Do you know if we can eat vitamin C or vitamin D to protect COVID-19? Thanks. I don't know, Eugene. I have been listening to as many health experts as I can, and I have been doing what doctors on the internet and on the news have been saying. So I don't know medically any more information for you. Sorry about that. Brent, I am a Boston Bruins fan. That's a hockey team, by the way. I live in Maine, 2 hours from the Canadian border. Who is your favorite hockey team? So I don't watch hockey, but I do like the Toronto Maple Leafs. Their team plays about an hour and a half from my house. So it is the closest team to me. Oh, that's not true. The Buffalo Sabres are actually the closest team to me. They are just over the border in Buffalo, New York. But I like the Toronto Maple Leafs. But because I speak French, I would say I have equal joy when I'm watching a Montreal Canadiens game and when the broadcast is in French. I enjoy that quite a bit. So let's see here. Let me go to the next question. Let's see here. Elias Gomez from Brazil. Hello, Professor Roberto. How are you? Could you give an example using the word amid, and when should we use it? That word is not used a lot, Elias. It's very rare. like I would use it maybe to say, like his house was, amid a bunch of different houses, but we don't use that word a lot. Amid is kind of a word you will see when you read, but it means amongst, or it means surrounded by. So if I say, I have a barn that is amid a bunch of trees, it means that it's, has trees all around it. Pretty rare to hear that word used. It is used. It's still used, of course, but it's not a common word to hear. Let me have a drink of tea for a sec, everybody. Rami Solip says, why the words bathroom, bedroom are one word, but living room is two words. I don't know. The English language is weird, Rami. So yes, bathroom and bedroom, one word. Although I have seen bedroom used as two words. I don't think that's very common though. But it's definitely bedroom and bathroom are one word, and living room is two words. That's welcome to the English language. I'm just looking up whether we ever use living room. No, it's always two words. So I don't know the answer. When they invented the English language, they thought, how can we make this language hard for people? Next question is from David. Hi, Bob. Do you think IELTS are important? So I corrected it there, are important. So IELTS, that is an English test that you can take. And when you score, I think you get scores, is it between 1 and 10 or 1 and 9? I'm not sure. My students at school, they'll take it and they'll score a 6.5 or a 6.7 or something like that. But IELTS, there's two reasons why I think tests are important. One is you might need the test in order to get into a university or to get into the job you want. It might be required that you take the test. But the second good reason to take an English test is that it will motivate you to study. If you know that you have an IELTS test or a TOEFL test or any kind of English test, let's imagine you have an English test in August and it's April right now. If you know you have a test in August, you will learn a lot of English between now and August because you will be stressed and worried and motivated. You will have a whole bunch of, a whole list of reasons why you should study. So I think tests are great. I think they are highly motivational. I think they motivate people to study. Let's see here. Next question is from Reem. Let me get this pasted in here. Reem from Saudi Arabia says, hi, Bob. What is the difference between go out and get out? So when I'm in my car and I open the door, I get out, okay? So when I'm in my car and I'm done driving, I get out of my car. Sometimes people will say they want to get out of the house, which is a general term. So you don't know where they're going. Like if I said, I feel like I just need to get out. It means that you're thinking of going somewhere, but you're not specific. When you say that you're going to go out, you usually know where you're going, okay? So if I say I need to get out, it's just a general term because you just want to do something and you don't know specifically what you're going to do. But if you say you're going to go out, usually you're going to go out and see a movie. You're going to go out and have dinner somewhere. Exactly. Exactly. I'm not sure why I said exactly there. Delete that in your mind. There was no reason to use the word exactly. Elias Gomez has given me a super chat. Thank you so much, Elias. And he also asked the question about the word amid. And he says, hello, Professor Roberto. I asked about the word amid because I've seen it a lot in the news. Thanks for answering. You are the man. No problem, Elias. You probably would see that word in the news a little bit, right? It's probably more common than it would be in everyday speech. So thanks again, Elias, for the super chat. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for supporting me. Lolly says, bonjour, Bob le Canadien. Please, could you tell me the difference between truce, ceasefire, and armistice? Merci beaucoup. So a truce is any agreement between two people, two groups of people, a country. It's when you decide to agree on something. So if you have after conflict, okay? So two people can be fighting and say truce. Like, do you want to just call a truce? And it means that you've agreed to stop the conflict. Two groups can be fighting, and they can say, let's have a truce, and that means they'll stop fighting. A ceasefire is when there is an actual war or battle where there are guns, and they decide to stop shooting at each other. And an armistice is when I think two countries actually decide to sign an agreement to end a war or conflict. Look up the last one though, armistice. I'm not always the best dictionary, but that is my understanding of those two. Let me go to the next question. Before we do, I just want to say hi to everyone who's watching. If you are not a subscriber to this channel, it is a great idea to click the red subscribe button somewhere. There's a red subscribe button, and you will become, if you are a subscriber, you will get notified when I put out new videos. I do a new video every Tuesday, I do a live lesson every Friday, and I do this live lesson every Saturday. It's just a great idea to subscribe. And if you want to support my channel, you can click the join button. That's a whole nother thing. It's not required, but I do appreciate those of you who do support me. Fabio from Italy says, hi Bob. Can you explain the difference between loud, out loud, and loudly? Could you please make some examples? Thanks a lot. So if I was to say the muffler fell off my car and now it is loud. So the muffler is the piece of the car that makes it quiet. And I would say my car is now loud. I often encourage my students to read out loud. When you read, you can read quietly, like this is my book, by the way. Or you can read out loud. The other day, Joe went to the store. He needed to buy some milk. So when you read out loud, it's actually good speaking practice and it's good reading practice. You should try that. And then let me scroll back here to find the other question. Oh, loudly. So you can say that when, let's see, when someone does something, they do it loudly. So when I get up in the middle of the night, sometimes I need to get a glass of water, and I have trouble being quiet when I get a glass of water at night, and I do it loudly. So I get a cup and I'm really loud when I do it. So all of my behavior you would describe as that I'm doing it loudly. I get a cup, I get water, I close the fridge door and it's really loud. So I do it loudly. So I'm describing the action I'm doing as being noisy or loud. Let's see here. Next question from Sergey. Hello, Bob. Can you explain what the difference between all and whole? I can't get it all. So when you get all of something, like if you went to the store and they had 20 bananas and you bought all the bananas, it means you took all of them, okay? There are no bananas left in the store because you took all the bananas. When we use the word whole, we're usually referring to if there's one thing, let me give the example of this. If I start eating a banana, I eat the whole banana, okay? So I can go to the store and buy all the bananas. Don't do that. That's a lot of bananas, but I could buy all the bananas. When I eat a banana, I could eat the whole banana. Hopefully that made some sense. Hey folks, we're gonna do a little switch here right now. Let me just jump over to my control panel and I have to refresh something here. Just hold tight. I'm gonna switch the chat to be members only in just a moment, but I have to find my control panel, which I can't find right now. Just give me a sec here. This is Bob the Canadian struggling with technology because he had his control panel open and now he does not have a control panel for the live stream. Things are out of control right now. So please hold tight. If I can't figure this out in a moment, I will just not do it today. So let me see if I can figure out how to do it. Sorry. When this happens with my real students, they get bored really quickly. So I'm assuming that you are getting bored really quickly and wondering why I don't just keep answering questions instead of trying to figure this out. Yeah, oh well, the control panel doesn't let me do it. So we will not be doing members only chat. We'll do another 10 minutes of questions. Maybe I'll check again in a moment to see if I can get that working. But let's go on to the next question. Let's see here. Kayomura, I hope I didn't pronounce your name wrong. Let's see. I'd like to know the average of time someone can listen to English easily because I can read but struggle a lot listening to English. So when I was working on my French, for a whole year, I only listened to French songs and watched French TV and movies, and I probably did it for an hour or 2 hours per day. So it does take a long time to get your ear to work well when you are learning another language, okay? So just do that. Listen to everything in English, watch everything in English, do everything you can in English, and you will need to do a lot of it. There's no question in my mind that in order to improve your listening skills and all of your skills, it does take quite a bit of time. There's no question about it. Let me get to the next question here. Let's see here. Oh yeah, this is tricky. This is tricky for a lot of you, isn't it? Jamila, Czech Republic says, "Hi Bob, can you show me how can I pronounce THS at the end of a word? For example, mouths, thanks, stay healthy, Jamila." So mouths, months. It's really hard, isn't it? Mouths, like I have a lot of mouths to feed in my house. That's even hard for me to say as an English speaker. It's very, very tricky for me to say mouths when I'm speaking English. Hey, it looks like I might be able to do this now. Give me a sec here and we'll see if this works. You might see something change right now in the chat. We'll find out. It looks like I got it to work. So we're going to switch to kind of part 2 of this live lesson. If you are a member, you may ask questions directly in the chat right now. So thank you for clicking that join button and becoming a member. Alina says, "Teacher Bob, do you often use the phrase snowed under in everyday life?" Yes. In the winter, when there is lots of snow, and our driveway is piled with snow, we definitely say that we are snowed under. So that's the literal use of the word. This coming week, I have to grade a lot of student work, and I would say I'm snowed under. So you can use it in Canada, because we have lots of snow, to literally talk about snow and say you're snowed under, or you can talk about it when you're talking about work or other jobs or tasks. Vitaly says, "Had Oscar got his bowl of dog food from us? I hope he liked it. Just funny information, not sure you knew. In Russian, Bob means bean or legume. Don't want to insult you." No, that is funny though. That means bean. I find that hilarious. And no, we did not use the super chat money yet to get Oscar a dog treat, but 2 different people in yesterday's lesson about pets gave super chats for Oscar. We will definitely use that money to buy him a dog toy, and I'll take a picture when we do. Elias says, "Hello, Professor Robert. Could you give me an example using the word despite?" So, despite the rain, I went for a walk anyways. Okay, so it seems a lot. I'm looking it up for a sec because we use in spite a lot as well. So in spite of and despite, it does mean the same thing. So let's say it's raining and I want to go for my walk for exercise. I could say, despite the rain, I went for a walk anyways. In spite of the rain, I went for a walk anyways. And Lolly says, "Is it true that Mr. J. Trudeau is affected by the coronavirus?" I have not heard that. I have not checked the news yet today. I'm not sure if Justin Trudeau has it. I know his wife had it. That's quite possible, but I did not know that he did, nor do I know for sure. I will check, Lolly, because I have not watched the news yet today. So again, if you're a member, you can keep asking questions in the chat. I'm going to grab a question from the spreadsheet as well for a sec. Dmitry Speransky says, "How to write in Canada 2-story house, like in England, or a 2-story house? Will it be a mistake if the student writes, for example, the British version of this word?" So in Canada, when you own a home, the level that's the same level as the outside, we call that the first floor. And then the second floor, or the first story and the second story. And my understanding is that's different in different English-speaking countries. So I would make sure that you know the rules for the country you are in. So for sure. And then Elias Gomez says, "Thanks, man. Vitaly is helping Lolly understand that it was his wife." And Alina says, "Yeah, thanks. I just use the phrase a lot, and I was wondering if it was natural, so I'm happy it is." Oh, it's very natural. The snowed under phrase, definitely a very natural phrase. There are a few other ones too, Alina. You can say things like, "I'm buried in work." I have a ton of work. I'm snowed under, like what you were asking. I have so much work, I don't know how I'm going to get it all done. Those are all ways that you would describe having so much to do that you are snowed under. Let's go to, let's see, next question. Harry Rafanomezansoa. Hello, Bob. This is Harry from Madagascar. Hi, Harry. What are the differences between these terms? Police, policeman, and officer. When should I use them? So we use almost exclusively the term policeman, police officer, or just officer. We don't use policemen as much as we used to because we recognize the fact that there are men and women who are working in the police force, but we do sometimes use the word policeman, okay? We equally will use the word policewoman, but probably the most common is to just say police officer. Did you know that a police officer came to work and was asking questions? So that would be the most common way to describe someone who works in the police force. Let's see here. Lolly says, I think it's fake news in France. It might be fake news, Lolly. So for those of you who don't know, fake news is when you read something on the internet that isn't true, but it looks like news. Vitaly says, in Russian, when someone appears suddenly, we say like snow on a head. Yeah. So some of you aren't from countries that have snow, but one of the dangers of snow is snow can accumulate on top of buildings. And snow obviously falls out of the sky, and sometimes snow can slide off a building and land on your head. I wonder if that's what Vitaly is talking about. So let me get to the next question though. Anastasia says, what is the difference between how are you feeling today and how do you feel today? I did make some corrections there, Anastasia. Listen again. What is the difference between how are you feeling today and how do you feel today? And those are the same, by the way. Those two questions mean the same thing, and they are both very common English questions. Like, hey, how are you feeling today? Hey, how are you doing today? Hey, how do you feel today? Notice I added another one in there. Sorry about that. And then I am happy, I feel happy, I am feeling happy. All totally correct. Yep. Oh, I'm happy today. Oh, I'm feeling happy today. I'm happy today. All of those work. Yep. I am happy, I feel happy, I am feeling happy. Yep, totally correct. Awesome. Let's see here. Next, let's do one more question, maybe one or two. Let's see. Pronunciation question from Dave94. Hey, Bob. I'm glad you're safe and sound. My question is about the words apricot, data, and status. Sometimes we say status. I know, sorry about that. I hear some variation in how people pronounce these words. So I say apricot. Okay, some people say apricot. I say apricot. Some people say data, and some people say data. Some people say status, and some people say status. If I was to say these words, I would say apricot, data, and status. But that doesn't mean it is the most correct way to say it, depending on where you are in the world, okay? So listen for the local version of it. But I know myself, people sometimes say drama, and sometimes they say drama. People sometimes say status and sometimes they say status. Sometimes people say apricot, sometimes people say apricot, and sometimes data, sometimes data. So neither is wrong, and no one will look at you funny if you pronounce one of those wrong. Those are pretty common words to have two slightly different pronunciations. Lone from Vietnam. Hi, Bob. My question is, what is the difference between interpretation and explanation? Thank you so much. When you an interpretation is when you look at something and decide what meaning you can get out of it. So when I look at some data or when I look at some data, there can be different interpretations of that data or data. Sorry, I keep saying both pronunciations. So you can gather information and then kind of figure out answers and information from it. You are interpreting the information. You are doing an interpretation. An explanation is simply when you explain something to someone. Like, here's how you make tea. I'm going to give you an explanation. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what to do in order to make tea. Hey, I'm going to jump back and turn full chat back on. Just give me a sec here. And there we go. Thank you to those again who are members of the channel, and thank you for asking a few questions in the members only chat. Again, we'll be doing that with every live lesson going forward. Okay, so if you are a member, the last 10-15 minutes of every live lesson, save some questions for me, and I'll be happy to answer those when we get to that part of it. Anyways, I'm just going to say a few things. First of all, thank you so much for watching. If you are not a subscriber, click the red subscribe button. If you did not understand parts of the video, watch it again tomorrow. Watch parts of it with the English subtitles on. It's very, very helpful. It will help improve and better your English. If you did not watch this week's lesson, go to my channel and watch it. This week I did a lesson on the kinds of questions you would be asked in a job interview. Someone last week requested that, and I thought that was a great lesson for some of you who are at the point where you need to apply for a job in English. So anyways, thanks for watching. This was a lot of fun. Again, I really enjoy doing this on a Saturday. Thanks to Todd and thanks to Dave for moderating the chat. Thanks to all of you that use the chat to practice your English. I'm very happy to see when there's little conversations happening in the chat in English, because I know it's just one more way for you to practice. Anyways, thank you again for watching. There will be a new video Tuesday, and I'll see you next Friday and next Saturday with 2 more live streams. And stay safe. Stay home. Stay safe. I really hope that we can all get through this over the next few weeks and few months. So anyways, Bob the Canadian here. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Let me push the stop button